This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone, to the first session in the 5 session series of Ask Me Anything lecture series. This series was built on the to make all faculty and student aware of the recent impacts due to the coronavirus and how it has impacted the startup ecosystem, industry, as well as as well as uh, how to help your CV in the hands of a recruiter. We will just be waiting for the first speaker to arrive. She'll come in 5 minutes, and I guess a lot more people will be filtering in for the lecture. So please have some patience. Please wait for some time. I will just contact the speaker. I'm so sorry. I'm just coming. Yeah. Our speaker's name is Miss Ishita Bhattacharya, and she is currently the founder of two startups, Curvometer and Boss Rani Media. She will be discussing on the topic bootstrapping your digital marketing today. The first 1 hour, 40 minutes to 1 hour, will be based on will be a lecture from her part, and after that, should you have after that, and even during the session, if you have any question, please feel free to ask your question in the chat box, and whenever Ishita ma'am will be free after her after completing her speech, she can discuss your question and answers. We'll just wait for a few more minutes for others to arrive, and we'll begin the session by 4:15. Thank you. हाँ मैम, we have मतलब 32 people have already joined and the others are joining. So I've already introduced you as CEO of Curvometer and Boss Rani Media, as Prashant sir told me. And I've told that you're going to be talking on bootstrapping your digital marketing. So yeah, and we'll be starting by 4:15. So I'd like if you'd come on and मतलब you have time till 4:15 to start, ma'am. So हाँ मतलब तब तक हाँ, yeah, okay.
Hey Ishita, Prashant here. Param, is Ishita there?
Ishita ma'am has not yet joined. She will be joining in the next 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
हाँ.
Hello. Yeah, Parandoshi.
Yes, sir. Yes, Samaya, sir.
Yeah. How many are joined?
36 have joined up till now. We are waiting
Oh,
for a few more.
thank you. Thank you. It's a good number.
Yes, sir. We were
Yeah.
expecting more, sir, and I hope more are on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Parandoshi. A good number, really.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Hello? Not sure.
Hi Ishita, Prashant here.
Hi, Prashant. Can you hear me
Available?
right? I'm
Yeah,
good.
we can. Yeah. So Param, you can start the briefing and then probably help others with the flow.
Um, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, Ishita ma'am. Thank you, Prashant sir, for helping us organize this. And let us begin with the Ask Me Anything first session in the 5 session series, where Ishita ma'am, the CEO of uh, Curvometer and Boss Rani Media, will be talking on the topic bootstrapping or digital marketing. So without further ado, I'd like to Ishita ma'am to take over the session. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. Um, I've been told that this session has to be interactive. So I'm going to divide this session into a couple of parts, and I'm going to keep asking questions. So I would love it if people can come forward and also answer from time to time. Is that okay? Okay, I'm just going to assume that it's okay. Okay, so first and foremost, when we are talking about bootstrapping, obviously, bootstrapping is very, very important for entrepreneurs because they're trying to save on cash, trying to save on resources so that it can be better utilized somewhere else. But more than that, what is the actual use of bootstrapping is that it allows you to get really smart and try and put your resources to the best possible use at the lowest possible cost. So, and which is, well, it is fairly important for every business, so to say, but it is more so important for the digital marketing because it is a field which is fairly new, and there are a lot of ways in which we are already adept at things. So obviously many of your college students, you would be knowing how to use Instagram, you'll be knowing how to use Twitter, Facebook, etc., etc. So when you already know how to use these to a very large extent, you only have to ensure that you get to use some more, get to learn some more things so that you can better your um, learning and put it to better use for your business. Uh, how many people over here already have startups? Can we have like a number? Anybody?
Ishita, more of them, these are aspiring entrepreneurs coming
Okay,
from e-cells or e-cell members.
okay,
Few of them, not a large number, but few of them may or might have startups of their
okay, all right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some basic essentials of entrepreneurship, which will come in very, very handy, whether it's for digital media or it's for anything else. So please pay attention to that because that is something which will get you, which will get you far in the long run. And I'm going to share the screen with you. 1 second.
Ishita, just one more thing. If you can just quickly brief about, like we have already done that, but if you can quickly brief about your previous work
Yeah,
and
I will do that as
about
well.
bit about Curvometer and Boss Rani and the kind of
Absolutely.
clients you've been working with your background, probably that would be inspiring.
Yeah, I'll do that as well. If I can just get this going. 1 second. Okay. All right. So I run Covometer and Bossani Media, and okay, I've got on to a client thing. So see, okay, yeah, okay. So going on to Covometer and Bossani Media, our company is called Bossani Media Works Private Limited. Covometer is a part of Bossani Media Works Private Limited. Covometer essentially is an aggregator for plus size fashion brands. So they're all in one place, and it addresses issues such as body positivity and body shaming, which are very key and are not being addressed. Now, what we realized is that there are a lot of startups, a lot of new brands which are coming into this domain, because this is still a domain which has not completely been um, completely been spoken about very often. So therefore, we needed an in-house agency so that we wouldn't have to do back and forth and guiding these new startups, telling them that okay, you need to do so and so for your digital presence. So therefore, we had an in-house agency set up. I personally come with about 10 years of experience in events marketing and PR, and I started off very accidentally as an event manager for golf events. I loved it, so I stuck around. I'm actually a law graduate, and when I started doing that, I then went on to work with a lot of startups. When I went to startups back then, this is 2008, 2009, I'm talking about. Startups back then were more heavily cash cards than they are right now. So a lot of people started telling me that why don't you handle our PR as well? Why don't you do a little bit of our marketing as well? And that's how I got onto it. And then I have also worked with um, a PR agency, an events agency, and an advertising agency. And that's where my learning comes from, and that's all the things culminated is what I'm sharing here today. So the in-house agency which we set up basically was why we got the name Boss Rani Media as Boss for Startups, and Rani because we wanted to focus on a lot of women-centric um, companies, a lot of companies which are led by women or initiatives which are for women. They may not be run by women, but they are for women. So, having said that, that is what Cover Meter and Boss Rani Media really is. Now, going on, uh, there's one more. There are a couple of things which I keep mentioning about Boss Rani Media and Cover Meter in the middle, because there'll be a lot of times when I keep giving some examples from time to time. So let's start on with entrepreneurship. So these are a couple of things which I have noticed and I think are very vital. The first thing is, whenever you're told that okay, you are going to be an entrepreneur, the first thing that comes to your mind is I am going to be my own boss. I'm going to run by my own rules, have my own times, and at the same time, I am, not going to follow anybody else's instructions, etc. But the moment you get into entrepreneurship, the first thing that a lot of people will tell you is mentorship is very important. Now, where do you go and find these mentors? Okay, you have e-cells, thank God for that. But back when I was in college, I didn't have these e-cells. But a job, an internship, or an apprenticeship can really teach you a lot of these things. So you'll once you join somewhere, you'll know that okay, this is what works and this is what doesn't work. This is the thing that I think I can adapt. This is something which I think I need to change, because otherwise you're just starting a startup and you're completely lost and you have no idea how to go about it and how it will really work or not. What will happen to the admin? What will happen to the IT? Everything is completely in the blue, and you're going to be in the lost territory. So instead of having to concentrate on one thing, you'll have to end up concentrating on 10 more things, which will get you nowhere. The second thing is that be prepared to be president or peer. You're going to be the face of your company. At the same time, you're also going to be cleaning your office. You're going to be doing sales rep for your office and your business, and you're also going to be doing a lot of the digital marketing. Initially, you're going to be creating content. You're going to be your own star, and at the same time, you're going to be that person who is the most avoided. So if you don't think you can deal with that, starting up is not as easy as it sounds, and it is very, very interesting. It's a lot of fun, but like you say, that you should really have the strength and the vigor to go forward with. Now, whether now this is something which is applicable for a lot of things, but more so for a startup, and I'll tell you why. You've never read enough. So when I say you've never read enough, you'll see that there are a lot of new trends which keep coming. So if you are one of those people who scrolls Instagram, this is one time when it's actually going to come in handy for you. So make sure that you scroll Instagram, because you'll keep noticing a lot of trends. You'll see that, okay, this trend is going very well, how I can adapt it to my brand, whether I can use it or not. But at the same time, if that trend is not of value to your brand per se, you don't have to do it. But at least you would be aware when somebody comments, you will be able to give a feedback on that. And again, there are a lot of, because of internet, there's a lot of resources out there. So you need to verify what is the right news, what is not the right news. Like we know how Trump keeps calling out for fake news. There is genuinely a lot of fake news out there. So if somebody tells you today that you are, let's say, in the Ayurveda industry, and there's some information which says that haldi can cure coronavirus, for example. Now, till you actually have a resource which can be trusted and you go out quoting that, there are going to be a lot of people who will say, let's not take this person seriously. This person is not reliable. What are his sources? Has there been any research, etc., etc.? It will just backfire, and therefore having the right resources is the right way to go. So whenever you're doing anything research based, let's say tomorrow you're making your pitch presentation, so there you'll find that relying on sites like .gov, .edu, .ac.in, or things like that is going to be very, very helpful. Also for digital marketing, where there'll be a lot of times when we will be giving out. I'll give this by an example. So we did digital marketing for a brand of protein products, and we had to give the importance of proteins. Now, in that, if I give random important facts as to what people think, that protein helps build 27% muscles. How do I get this 27% figure? It's a very attractive figure. Am I right? Am I wrong? And A, are people going to trust on me? B, will people actually take me seriously? Because I want to be taken seriously, and I want that people look at me as a reliable source. So therefore, your reliable source is going to be these sites. There's always going to be an exception to every rule in entrepreneurship, which is never shy away from experimenting. Like I said, trends. So there is a trend which is very, very popular, and we've been following this trend. We did that trend ourselves also, but at the same time, it's not required that we do each and every trend. We don't have to. Is anybody asking a question?
So people can post on the chat window. We can take the questions later.
Sure. Not an issue. So there are, social conditioning tells us that there are a lot of things. Okay, girls should not cry. Boys should not cry, and girls should do this, and etc., etc. But everything tends to be broken at some point of time. Maybe because it's not right. Maybe because people don't agree with it, and therefore, going with all these things, there are a lot of things that you have to take care of. That, okay, am I breaking the rule in the right way? Am I trying to only get publicity even if it's negative? So doing that is not going to be of much help. And therefore, what we actually should be aiming at is, we'll experiment, but at our own pace. So you can do, let's say, if tomorrow I come and tell you, you should be posting one post a day. That is something which a lot of people do as a rule, but it's not just the rule. You can do it. You can choose to do 2 posts in a week. Even that will work. If you're, let's say you're doing 2 posts, but you're doing 5 stories on Instagram. Let's say On LinkedIn, if you post every single day, and LinkedIn is a slightly more complicated channel. If you start doing something like that, people are going to think that, okay, what is wrong and how are they doing this? And you will feel very exhausted that I can't come up with articles every single day. Is there any right way to do it? At the same time, I also know somebody who that is completely not a rule at all, and she chooses to break that rule and it works in her favor, which is that even if she's writing a two-liner on LinkedIn, instead of putting it as a post, she puts it in the form of an article. Putting it on an article gives her the leverage of getting that news post published in LinkedIn Pulse, which helps her get uh, it helps her to it is more likely for her to get trending via that than her post being. So there are different rules that work for different people. Obviously, this person happens to be a journalist, so therefore it works to her advantage. Uh,
Ashita, you are on mute. Cool.
yeah, can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you do not love what you do, you're going to find everything that you're doing a pain. And when it starts becoming a pain, that's when you'll find the easiest of jobs becoming more and more difficult. So yes, there will always be some things which you don't like to do, which you will have to do. For example, there are a lot of people who do not enjoy reading at all. But I'm sorry, you have to do it. Now you have the luxury of choosing, okay, I don't want to read books, I can read articles, I can read blogs, I can just scroll through posts and I'm sorted. But try and get your information. That's the entire point of this entire exercise. Um, then the next is you must do everything, but you can't do everything. So there will be times when you have to start with, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to I have to do my keyword search myself, I have to do the content myself, I have to do my off-page SEO myself. But at the same time, um, I also have to do my pitch presentation. I also have to do my company registration, etc., etc. And there will be a time when it will get too much. So the best thing to do is the moment that you can find help, you can find friends, you can find interns, you can find whatever other resources which are available to you. Delegate as soon as you can, because no matter how much you delegate, there will always be something which you are stuck with. If let's say you have delegated each and every single responsibility of your company, you will still have the responsibility of managing everyone. So make sure you do that. The next is take your time. It's not a race. So this is a very simple thing that if you've not got it done ASAP, you will need to do things over a period of time. But at the same time, there are some places where time is of an extreme essence. So let's say if you are planning to come up with a solution for COVID and you do not do it during the time of COVID, your solution is of no use. So it'll lose interest, and therefore to do it at a time like that makes everything change drastically. Appearance doesn't matter, but so when I say appearance doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how you look personally, how your post look, how your website looks, but at the same time, it does affect first appearances. A lot of people, so for example, whenever a new brand or a new client comes to us, we always tell them that instead of let's say if you want to start your social media marketing from the month of July, our advice is that you start from the month of June instead, and you build up your database and your pool of posts, so that when we actually start the activities in July, where we are pushing more ads, where we are pushing more content, there people actually come and they see that there is already content they can relate to. If they come to a blank page, they are most likely to lose interest and leave, and that is going to be of help to no one. And also, please, 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 for everything, for any kind of content, wherever there is any written content, please copy check twice. To make sure that there is no plagiarism, because that is not going to get you anywhere. It might seem like a very cheap and convenient immediate resource, but in the long run, it will turn out to be very expensive if you get stuck in lawsuits, and that is not going to be a very happy picture, and it will tarnish the name of your company and of your brand. And additionally, it will also, let's say, if you've not got your has and your have right, you're going to leave a very bad impression on some people's mind, and they will not come back to you even if your product is very great. So make sure that that does not happen. Again, every missed opportunity is an opportunity. So for example, I take that COVID solution startup again. If tomorrow today I want to come up with a COVID solution startup, and I have not been able to do it, but at the same time that can be utilized for a different kind of a system, and I've not been able to do it right now, tomorrow that back-end material is already ready for me, and therefore I will be able to use it for a future solution which I want to create. So even though it was a missed opportunity, but in the long run, it's going to help me. Be original. So even if you have to copy, please copy smartly. So if you're getting an idea, make sure that you place that idea in your own terms. Why I'm saying copy is not to promote things like, okay, why not copy, paste, cut? But instead, what I'm trying to say is add your own flavor to it. So there are different parts of the world where we play Holi, but ultimately we want to go and see Holi of one particular place. But then there are people who are saying, okay, I don't need to go to that Holi because this new Holi party is all the more fun, and it understands me, it gets me, and I connect to it better. So that is the same kind of thing that you do. It's a product, it's a service that has been created, and that helps you in the long run to be smart, you might not have the first mover advantage in an industry, but at the same time, that when I'm talking about first mover advantage, I'm even talking about content. I'm even talking about digital marketing. You may not be the first person to start a trend, but if you've taken the trend to that level where you have uh, presented it really well, your work is still going to get noticed. That is what I imply by copy smart. Pivot again. Um, Pivot is another term which you will hear a lot during any entrepreneurship talk. Pivot and diversify, or both of these things. Pivot is basically that, okay, if I'm not able to do something right now, how am I able to make it better? That is what is going to be pivot. And the next step of pivot is going to be that maybe I need to diversify and not just pivot and change, but add that, and that is what is diversification. So I'll give an example for that. So when first I'll start with diversification. When we started off with our company, we decided that we want to have that in-house agency and not outsource that work. A, to ensure that we can keep a quality check on all the work. B, to ensure that we don't have to sort of give away that quality control, and we can have some bit of reference point. And at the same time, we came with a background which was strong in events marketing and PR. So it's best to utilize that. When we are utilizing it for our own selves, we can also utilize it for other people, which is the simplest reason why we decided to diversify. At the same time, as soon as the COVID situation struck, we know that apparel went down the drain and the apparel industry got so badly hit. That's where our Bosani Media agency bit kept us afloat and helped us to stay in the business. Again, pivot was we were doing very limited digital marketing work, but at the same time, we were doing digital marketing for very, very different kinds of industries. So luckily, we had one legal industry work, we had one uh, we had two um, one real estate, one real estate, two travel related, and one gym product related. So out of all of our products, uh, most of them got hit and one of them stuck around. But at the same time, what helps is that the one that stuck around, we stuck to that, and we said, okay, everybody else has to hold back, because if we go and tell them that no, you should not be holding back, it's just us giving wrong advice to our clients. And our entire agenda has always been that our clients spend less money and get more, and that should be the agenda for anybody doing digital marketing, even when you're doing it for yourself. So if they have to save on that money, it's the best for them to not do anything right now. That also we did. There were places where we said, no, you must continue to put some information out. That also we did. And at the same time, it ensured us that, okay, maybe we don't need to stick to just this, because then we saw a demand arising of a lot of content writing, where complete digital marketing services were not required, but because content marketing is required or only content writing is required, we made that pivot to ensure that we stay afloat. So this is what are the 11 essentials which I think are of entrepreneurship, which I have learned from my personal experience. And these have always come in handy whenever there is a question of doubt which arises. This is what I refer to, and this is what helps me solve my existing problem. Are there any questions at this point of time which anybody would like to ask? Okay. So now I am moving on to what is digital marketing. So basically, as simply as you can put, it is every activity that you do digitally that helps you put your brand's footprint on the map. Uh, this sounds like a very, very, very simple and very straightforward perception, but it's as this is as simple as it gets. As soon as you understand this, you know that most of the other things you've already answered. So now, if you can see, I put this slide as blank because I wanted to take on questions and say if anybody from the viewers can tell me why is digital marketing important. You can put it in the comments if you don't want to speak. If we don't have this answered, then that's going to be a problem, because that is the entire reason why we are having this presentation in the first place. Any answers? To promote the business, for recognition. Okay. Anything else? To make presence globally. Okay, that's also very relevant. Advertising, gaining customers. Easiest and top reachable platform to promote. Market presence. Anything else? Like, it's the most to run ads and marketing online, to reach out to more people than physically possible, correct? Using digital marketing, we can reach an enormous audience in a way that is both cost effective and measurable. Customer attraction, to run business online, letting people, customer know that we are solving a problem or giving a solution. Anything else? Increase reach of customer on your product, requires least money involved. To know how others are thinking about the product or the content, to build a brand. It is the digital age and a majority of millennials are online right now, which makes the business even more reachable. Absolutely correct. Easy to track the market. Not all that easy, to be very honest. There's a lot of analytics involved and very difficult to study it, but Yes, it's fairly easy because you don't have to second guess at least. Identifying the audience or customers. We're missing out one very obvious answer at this moment. And I'm going to give like a giant hint for that. So there is a lockdown. How else are you going to reach people? There's no other way of reaching people right now. Physically reaching out to people is absolutely missing. So all of these answers, to be very honest, are absolutely correct. But the only thing is that the one thing that got missed out was that there is no way to reach out to people, especially right now. So if you are starting up right now, or let's say if you end up starting up in another situation where there is such a lockdown, there none of these will you won't be able to reach out to your audience at all. Yes, reaching out to a digital audience via digital marketing because becomes very easy because you can literally narrow down and identify your audience. You can select your target audience on the basis of their likes, dislikes, what they like to see, what they are involved in, what they are likely to purchase or consume. All of that said and done. um, and obviously millennials, yes, but even apart from millennials, because of things like the smartphones, because of things like better network, better internet availability, it's not just millennials but also others. You see mothers, grandmothers on their phones, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, and these are really really good channels to reach out to people, and there are a lot of people who are making sales from them on a very regular basis. So okay. All of these answers are actually correct. I'm now going to move on to the next slide to see. Okay. Okay. So the first and the three most key important things which are considered as the core of digital marketing are that A, it helps people find your product or service easily. The more they know, the more likely they are to consume a product or service, which is where we have websites, we have social media presence, etc., etc., so that people can actually know about us. It is our way of directly connecting to our audience. The second is boosting sales. When I say boosting sales, there are channels like Facebook, Instagram, where people are actually selling their products because of things like Facebook Shop and Instagram Shop. Apart from that, also you can redirect your traffic to your website via social media, and that comes in very very handy. And lastly, data collection, like you guys said, that to understand what people are actually looking for. And also let's say today if there is one person who might not be buying my product or consuming my service but fits in that target audience category, they are likely to be my customer in the future. And therefore, if I have that access to that data with me, that okay, this is a target audience that we have, then it becomes very, very helpful for us. So that data collection can never ever be taken lightly. And data collection is an ongoing activity. You cannot give it lesser importance at any point of time. The more your startup grows, the more and more you will require data collection, no matter how big you are. Let's say, for example, Amazon. Today, Amazon has a very, very wide reach, but at the same time, they want to expand furthermore. So how do they expand furthermore? They send out newsletters, they send out alerts, they send out messages. There are brands which also send out WhatsApp messages from their WhatsApp business. This is all a kind of brand recollection and a way to remind your audience that okay, we are still there and this is all that is available and we can still do this, and these are the services and products we are offering. The more you reach out to somebody, the more they're going to remember it. To a very large extent, there is a bit of cold calling or cold emailing, etc., involved as well. But a lot of it we are doing not directly aimed at anybody, but doing it in a way like in the form of, let's say, social media posts, etc., or in the form of a community. So we are not addressing people of that community in person, but because they are part of the community, they are still getting all of those messages, which is very, very important. Okay, moving on. Are there any questions so far? Anybody? Okay. So now we're moving on to what are the tools of digital marketing, and these are all the things that you see here are the most common things that you will see anywhere. Number one, your own website, starting from the domain. Two, other people's websites or other websites where you're likely to find a mention about you or your brand. Social media channels, to keep your presence marked on some select channels that suit your products and service everywhere else. So, for example, you need not be present on Quora as a brand, but let's say you are present there as the founder of your startup. At the same time, your brand is not present there, but still you can answer questions which relate to you and engage with audience, where because a lot of people ask questions on Quora, and answering questions about your brand over there really helps you to create backlinks and do off-page SEO for your brand, and therefore it will help you reach out furthermore. The next is, and the final thing, which is very, very overlooked and very, very essential, is your personal branding and presence on social media. So today, if you as a brand do not reveal who is behind the brand, do not reveal that, okay, this is what the brand comes from, this is what the brand exists because, etc., etc., people are not going to have that kind of a personal connection. If you want that personal connect where people say, okay, I understand where this person is coming from, I choose to support this person for the kind of work that this person does, or even let's say that this person believes in such and such thing, therefore his or her company is likely to do so and so. For example, you take any of the big ones, you take Apple, Steve Jobs, you take Buffet, you take uh, I'm even going to take negative examples. You take Nirav Modi and his brand. People stopped buying from his brand when people got to know that he had done a lot of created a lot of trouble and had run off from the country. Kingfisher, Vijay Mallya, these are negative brands, but at the same time, the positive brands, they are also very, very handy, and those are exactly. Vijay Mallya is a completely negative example. So you will not want to associate with Kingfisher so much so because of what Vijay Mallya is right now. But at the same time, when people knew that, oh, Vijay Mallya is literally the king of good times himself, therefore Kingfisher is bound to be the king of good times, like they promise. So therefore, what you are as in yourself will also define your brand to a very, very large extent. Okay, now moving on. So we are now going to focus on the website. So when we start with the website, when you're buying a domain, so the first thing that happens is, okay, I have an idea, I want to lock this down, I want to tell everybody that this is what my idea is. I am going to, the first thing that will come to my mind is, let me take a domain. People will not even think of taking a website, creating a trademark. The first thing that will come to their mind is, let me take a domain. When you take a domain, the first problem that a lot of people will face is, let me approach somebody to book my domain. Don't get into all of that. It's fairly simple. All you have to do is go onto one of these channels like BigRock, GoDaddy, there are so many others available. Go onto one of the trusted ones and just look for your options. You sort of name options, search there. Whenever you're thinking of a name, there are two searches which you need to do. One is check if the domain exists. Two, to check if there are trademark exists. If these two are sorted, then you know that the name can really still go along, and thereafter you can keep seeing, okay, if the brand relates to this, if the brand can do better, etc., etc. If not, you can always change that later on. Don't get stuck with, no, till the time I have a brand name, I won't get anything else from me. That never helps anybody. So the first thing you do is you start with the work, and then you go on to the deciding the name. Once you have decided, when you have decided the name, the first thing you do is buy a website. And the first thing after buying a website, what you do is, let me also make this very clear here, that here you will, when you're going to buy a domain name, you're going to see, okay, I have hosting, I have this and that. Unless you're an IT person who knows how to make use of these things, don't get into all that trouble, avoid it. You can always do it later and save time, save money, and not get stuck in that rut. And at least you have one thing off your list. Do an SEO keyword search. Now, to be very honest, a keyword search can actually be done free of cost using a lot of tools which are available online. But when you think that you're not sure of which sites to rely on, you're not sure of where to go, what is trustworthy, or you can even go into a loop that you keep doing things over and over again. In that case, what you ideally should be doing is just give it off to somebody who is proficient at digital marketing, because that's one thing done. And even if it comes at a cost, you know that, okay, there are other things which I can take care of by myself, but here I don't need to save on cost, because this will literally help you define how your other work is happening and whether it is going to be effective or not in the long run. Now you start with the website content. In your website content, you will have to ensure that all of your keywords are well utilized. But when I say well utilized, it should not mean that you're just randomly putting those words everywhere. So for example, if you are doing something with bitcoins, and in every second word, or in every sentence, if you're using the word bitcoin, that's just too much usage of the word bitcoin, and it's very, very um, endless to say. So, I mean, it's not going to be very helpful in nature. What you have to do is identify your short tail keywords and your long tail keywords. Short tail keywords are, for example, bitcoins. Long tail keywords are things like cryptocurrency, which is available, most popular cryptocurrency, that is Bitcoin. Then I'm just giving one-off examples so that I can give better examples and more variety of examples. Then once you start, so this is how you go around with your website content, and make sure that you have used your SEO keywords about 5 to 6%, not more than that. You don't really need to do it more than that. But because what our agenda is that we will keep updating the website via the blog, and that is where we will be capturing the SEO properly. Next, we go on to content creation. So in content creation, you obviously digital content will include written, video, audio. That is for the time being, till the time we have other modes which have been decided or found out. But with everything, even with the video, even with an audio, you need to have some written content always there. That is the content which will actually help the algorithms to find and to rank you and your website. And therefore, please pay extremely close attention to your written content. Verify it, cross check it, and make sure that there is no plagiarism there, because that plagiarism is the one which can be caught very easily. When you are doing video plagiarism, let's say somebody has a script, you copy that entire script verbatim and you're reciting it, it will still be more difficult to find out than it will be to find out, can we use phrases apart from keywords for SEO? Yes, you can. There are a lot of phrases. The phrases usually will avoid a lot of adjectives and adverbs. So, which is why it is important to do an SEO keyword search. And when you're doing an SEO keyword search, make sure that you are doing the SEO keyword search for both short tail and long tail, not just short tail or not just long tail, because that's not going to get you anything. See, it's as simple as this. Tomorrow, if let's say you are going to buy a medicine, okay, and the first thing that you do is, instead, let's say right now in this situation where you're not even going to a chemist, you're not doing anything, you're going to go on Google and say, where can I buy this medicine, or what is this medicine for, etc., etc. So those, there'll be a lot of those words which will be put together in different formats, uh, based on how people speak. So what can I buy first, or what should I buy first, or let's say if somebody has some broken language and puts it on an altogether different format, or spells it wrong, that is also a long tail SEO keyword. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this. Having a blog. Now, when I say having a blog, even if you have a single scroll, um, if you have a single scroll website, um, there also you need to have a blog so that it's easier for people to identify with you. So I'll give you an example of one of my clients. This client is in the legal industry. They have a law firm for which we, instead of doing digital marketing per se, because digital marketing is not, any kind of marketing is actually not allowed for law firm, what we actually do is their communications. But at the same time, this communication pretty much does the same kind of work that marketing does for them. So for them, what we do is we have a single scroll website. After that single scroll website, we still need to ensure that traffic is coming to their site and traffic is coming to their blogs and people are getting to know about them. People are coming to their social media. So for that, we use words which, for example, their practice areas include securities law, corporate law. They have a lot of focus on white collar crimes. So therefore, what happens is that we do a lot of their stories related to that. We always try and add the words legal industry, law firm, securities law, changes in securities law, and words or things which are likely to be searched by people. So as a result of this activity, what has happened is that we have been able to reach out to a larger number of people. And obviously, because it is not a very um, in-depth marketing activity where we can't really do ads or any of that, but what we can do is that we can reach out to our past and present um, clients of that firm, and also anybody who is in close proximity to us, which is why we also use WhatsApp as a very active medium of social media, and we send out messages about updates, etc. And because of that, we've actually got a lot of traffic. The company's got more clients on board and new work on board, and that is just to give an example. But okay, we have a question here. Do homophones also work? I am a little confused here. I will have to check that and get back to you. I'm very sorry about that, but I will have to check that. Okay, now social media, this is very intense, so which is why I just put it out in pointers. If you can see, I've only listed very few. I've left out things like WhatsApp, I've left out things like Pinterest. We can keep adding as and when we want to select. In this, there are a couple of things which are common, which I will tell you. Can some people give examples of, let's say, what they are planning to work on um, for their startups? Anybody who can put in comments? We can take that up as an example, maybe. Anybody who has an idea for a startup and wants to see how you can go about doing something for that, we'll take that up as a concept and create an entire plan right here, right now. Anybody for, okay. Okay. So, any other idea, or I'm going to stick to Param, can you explain what you've written? I mean, you've written for FB and LinkedIn an event or virtual contest. You want to do that as, can you just explain that a little?
Ma'am, you asked the question that what specific steps does a startup need to do? So I felt that
Mm-hmm.
organizing a virtual contest sort of
Mm-hmm.
activity on your social media would help, to interact with your customers.
Okay. See, this is it's absolutely correct, to be very honest, but you can't. That is something which is not possible for each and every industry. Okay. It
Okay.
depends on sector to sector, and it depends on timing of who does it and when. But it is definitely a very good medium to do it, and that is what comes into play in a content plan. Now, Prashant here is given aggregation of OTT or a video streaming app as an example, for which what we can do is we can lay out a complete plan. Anybody here has any other idea? If unless you want to go with the video streaming app idea, then we'll stick to that. Okay. So now, see, there are two basic tools that you have to think of, and these tools define each and everything. I've already mentioned your data and your analytics are going to come in handy there. But these two things, your scheduler and your content plan. When I say scheduler and content plan, they mostly go hand in hand. There are some places where you should not be scheduling your posts because it does affect the algorithm and it takes your post to a lower viewing capacity, as and other times it will literally be better because you know that the timing has not been missed on, so you will get better views. The second thing and the most important thing that defines any social media activity or any digital marketing activity of any sort is your content plan. When I say a content plan is as simple as a calendar. You have a calendar from Monday to Sunday, wherein you list out that, okay, what is the activity that I'm going to focus on, what is the kind of post I'm going to put, what are the hashtags I'm going to use, what are the things I'm going to focus on, such as topicals. So, a topical is anything like a festival or any commemorative day. Let's say you have Women's Day, you have Mother's Day, you have Holi, Diwali. These are all topicals. Your Eid is coming up, that is topical. You have a topical can also be something as silly as World Towel Day, which is a day to commemorate a book which is called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Uh, each of these are topicals, but there are topicals which range from different. There are literally every country has a list of commemorative things, days. There are UN commemorative days. There are world commemorative days. All of these different days, like you have your AIDS day, your diabetes day. You have a lot of these days for health reasons. You have Children's Day. You have different sorts of days. All of these fall within topicals. Then on Mondays is the first day of the week where people are extremely cranky, and even though they're sitting at home during lockdown nowadays, still something like a Monday motivation never goes out of trend. Then there will always be some of these topics which are trending. Let's say right now, coronavirus is trending. If you're not giving content related to corona, you're giving random content like let's go out and shop. It's not going to work right now. But if you say let's go out and shop or step outside, get some exercise, that will really work. But right now, your same language will change to stay indoor, do yoga. That is the same thing. Uh, that is what your basic content plan is. For a content plan, just whether on a piece of paper or on an Excel sheet, mark out your days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. and in that put in trending hashtags which you can use in on a number of different social media. This I'm talking about posting right now. We will talk about the ads in the next
Don't.
step.
నువ్వు కొట్టవా
Yeah.
ఆమె కొడతా నువ్వు ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తావా ఏం నొప్పినది
Hello. Okay. All right. So we are first talking about social media and what kind of posts we can do and how we can post ourselves. And then we are going to go on to ads, and ads are and what kinds of ads and where all we can do it and how we can manage it at a very cost efficient way. Like I said, make this calendar where you have which you make for every single week. You can find out a calendar which you make overall, which gives you your commemorative days, which gives you your topicals, which gives you your festivals, etc. And based on that, you can decide, okay, I'm going to do this for this day, this for this day, this for this day. And on the basis of that, you will end up creating your posts. There are some very important points for making a post. One is whether you want to choose a color scheme or not. Keep that in check. If you want to keep a color scheme, then you have to go up as per that. Okay, Prashant, there's a question which you put saying if we need to execute pre-launch of our platform, any specific things we need to consider. I'll take that as an example. Let me just finish with these some common points, and then we'll take the OTT platform as an example and make a complete content plan of that for 1 week and see how we can put and where all we can put about that. So like I was saying, yeah, so your content should not, when I'm talking about text on the picture, please note that no text on the picture should be more than 20%. If it's more than 20%, ideally this is what works for Facebook and for Instagram. It does not, if you want to promote that post, it will not get promoted well. The reach will be lower or the cost will be too high. There might even be a stage where Facebook or Instagram will tell you we are not going to promote this at all. We will not be able to, because Instagram, let's say, is a picture based format. There, if you have too much written material on the text itself, it does not work well. And also, this is based on an algorithm as to how much people can read. So if, for example, the screen that I'm sharing right now, it has just 4 words written on it: tools, schedule, content, plan. But in the same page, if I have 100 words written, which is more easier to read for you? Obviously the one which has 4 words. So you have to see what works better, and which is why we try to keep as minimum as possible, but ideally a 20% is what is considered best. Also note, a lot of your logos are often typography fonts, and therefore those will also get counted. So the size of that needs to be to an extent which allows you to have the overall text on the post within 20%. To check this, what you can do is Facebook has a overlay tool on which you can just upload the picture that you have created, and it will tell you whether this is going to function fine. It will give you a low, medium, high kind of a rating. Low meaning that this will run and this can be promoted. Always doing that check helps, so that you don't have too much text out there. Tomorrow, if let's say you have very little content, or if you put a pause on something, you don't want something new, or you have to push some older sales, you have to push some older posts where you're trying to say, which are very basic in nature, there having that post to 20% will be very helpful, because you can keep promoting that post over and over again. So that is one. Creating posts for those who do not know how to use software such as Photoshop, AI, etc., Corel, etc. Ideally, right now, Canva is seriously your best bet. Just make sure that when you are including pictures from outside, they should be copyright free. How to search for copyright free pictures? You can use websites such as Unsplash, Pexel, FreePic, which these are three sites which I've mentioned. You can use a lot other such things, but get royalty free images from here. There are other places where you can get royalty free images. Obviously, I'm talking about bootstrapping, so therefore I'm talking about using free images. But otherwise, if you have more funds available, you can always buy your pictures. And this is where you're not able to use your own pictures. If you have your own pictures, there's nothing better than that. And when you are using your own pictures, please always try and give credit to the photographer, because that goes a really long way. It helps you to build a relationship with that existing team, and also it helps to get their friend circle on board with your product and service. So it also reflects on your culture that you are looking to give them that credit, and therefore tomorrow if somebody else wants to join your company, they will look at that here I know I will not be sidelined and I will be taken care of, and therefore I can join this company. That goes a very long way. Second is you when you're not able to find pictures or something from Pexel, FreePic, or something like that, Unsplash like that, what you can do is you can do a search on Google and then go on an advanced search tool, which will help you to identify high res pictures, PNG, and where you will have to literally look for royalty free pictures. So doing that is a little more complicated, but it can help you in the long run. So that will help you to save a lot of cost. Now, having said that, again, your hashtags, you can do a random search. Yes, you are told that please use hashtags. You can use up to 30 hashtags, but there is a common belief that you can put in maybe no hashtags on the caption itself and then put the hashtag in the first comment. To be very honest, that does not help. I will tell you why. When you're putting the hashtags in the first comment, that is the only time that those hashtags will appear. But if they are there in the caption of the post, then what will happen is that, let's say, in a month's time, you want that one old post to reappear, or you want all your older posts to reappear slowly and steadily. If you go and edit any of them and maybe change the hashtags, those hashtags will be used as brand new again, and therefore the algorithm will allow your old post to appear as a new post all over again without you having to actually post. So this gives you the benefit of double posting without actually posting twice. You're posting one picture, let's say, and actually editing one. Therefore, you're posting twice. If you're doing more edits, then you're posting more times in a day. Then that is where it comes in very handy. But yes, nobody likes to see hashtags in the only hashtags or hashtags right in the beginning. Therefore, what we do is we add a caption, which is the only portion that you can read, so that you can stick to only the portion which you are reading and make sure that it doesn't get cut. Ideally, the length of that will be 35 words. 35 words is something which will fit in your Twitter also and fit within 280 characters. It is something which is not too long. On Facebook, where you can add additional material, like let's say you want to add a link. Again, there, if you add a very long link, nobody will really like it. You must put in all links as a shortened URL. You can use tiny URL or some free service like that. But those come in very handy. Now moving on to, I'm going to now start with, okay, we're just going to do this. There are different kinds of ads. So like I said, on let's say on social media, first and foremost on Facebook and on Instagram, where we are doing ads. Now on Instagram and on Facebook, there are two different kinds of ads. One is that when you are promoting a post itself, when you are promoting a post itself on Facebook, it's just the post that will appear as a promotion with sponsored post written on it, which works fairly well actually. But it does not appear like it will only appear within the feed and not in other places in the ads. So there are a lot of other zones where ads appear. To make sure that that happens, there are different ways to create ads. Till you can figure that out, because you're talking about bootstrapping here, we suggest that just stick to promoting your post. Make your posts such that they are promotable. And if you want to do, let's say, if you want to break that 20% rule, there are two hacks to it. One is selecting a video. When you do a video with very little text on it, which just defines that, let's say it's a meme video, where it could be a funny story about something. So you've just got when my mom walked in on me, or when I went to college without any books, something like that. I'm being very random right now, but that's the only text that you have. Maybe at max you'll have your logo right at the bottom somewhere. So the placement will be very small. So definitely within 20%, and videos do not have that problem of the 20%. And at the same time, people see that, okay, this is a proper video. It does not have too much content on it, which will be easier for us to grasp. And therefore, that is not a problem. The second hack to this is doing a series of pictures. Now, when you're doing a series of pictures, again, try and stick to the 20% rule. But here, instead of putting all your content in one post, we're going to take each of these little content and put them in one different post and make a series of it. The cost for promoting a series of posts or a post itself is going to be the same. So that does not come into play. Your 20% rule will still be applied. You will still take care of it. Basically, just ensuring that you are actually, your posts are more readable and more user friendly. But at the same time, you know you put more than 20% text, which works perfectly fine. The second thing is, so again on Instagram, your caption, if you remember, I mentioned that try and have it within 35 words and not too long. And you don't really need to always exhaust your 30 hashtag limit. You can do lesser than that also. And you don't, there are a lot of people who they'll put 20 dots before the hashtags appear so that you don't really scroll that much and you read that. You can do that. That's again a very personal choice. But when you are seeing your ad, when you promote your ad on Instagram, there are three ways that it gets promoted. One, it appears on your feed. Two, it appears as a story. So between your stories, when you are viewing your stories, it will appear as one story. There, what will happen is your post will appear, and below that, the content, the caption that you put, that will appear. So to make sure that everybody can read everything, it is best to have very little content over there. The next thing is that when you, how much time do we have left? Param?
Ma'am, you can still talk for 20 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, because we'll just, after this, we'll just take up that example of the OTT platform and creating a content plan for it.
I have extended the time till 6.
Okay. So, yeah, what was I talking about? So I was talking about the Instagram ads, and when you're doing Twitter ads are honestly very difficult. And initially, when startups are just starting off, unless you are very proficient at Twitter, I always suggest people to not do Twitter, because Twitter is not something that you do one post a day and you leave it. It does not really help like that. Ideally, Twitter should be very it's called moment marketing, that it should be on the spur of the moment. Every time you see something, you have to be able to keep tweeting or retweeting or doing something or the other, so that it's not a one-time activity. Unless you have a dedicated resource, let's say you have an intern you've hired who is only and only handling our Twitter, and you know you can blindly trust that person, to create some fabulous content. But please make sure that the content is once or twice cross-checked by you so that you can ensure your quality check. Then in that case, you can go ahead with Twitter, but otherwise completely avoid it. And then when we talk about ads on Google, then we come on to your AdWords. There again, your SEO keywords are very, very important. You will keep selecting, okay, I'm selecting this short tail keyword, I'm selecting this long tail keyword, this ad is going to run from this time to this time, this is my budget, etc., etc. The most important advantage of doing something like you might be wondering, where should I use ads, for social media, or should I use it for Google, should I use it for other platforms? That is something which I can give it as an example from my other brands. So for example, we have this one client, they run a scuba diving center in Goa. For them, if we do ads on Facebook and social media, and they came to us at a time where another agency was doing their work, and they had literally stopped doing any work on social media. So at that time, if we did any of their ads on social media, it would backfire because people would go on to their social media, not see too much engaging content, and leave from there. And at the same time, when they came to us, this was peak season. So for them, what we decided to do was use Google AdWords instead. And with Google AdWords, we ran ads for them for 1,000 rupees a day. So even 1,000 rupees a day is actually a very small limit. You can actually go to a lesser limit also. You can go to a very larger limit also. Like for example, another, like I mentioned, I have another protein powder client. For them, we kept a Google AdWord limit of 5,000 for a month. 5,000 for a month, which we did not spend every single day. We chose days where we want to spend, where we ran campaigns. Let's say we ran a campaign for Valentine's Day. So there we only utilize that budget for that one particular campaign instead of utilizing for the entire month. So for them again, increasing their social media presence was more important, and at the same time, their traction on social media was way more, because for a startup to start doing Google AdWords in such a competitive category where you have existing brands already there, their social media ads will work better than they will work on your Google AdWords where bigger brands are already there. Now, Google AdWords, the advantage of putting products on Google AdWords is that it will show up on a shop corner also. So as soon as you search for a product, for example, it will start showing you all the products listed on Amazon, Flipkart, on all your other e-commerce sites that are there. And once that happens, then your Google AdWords will can actually backfire if you're a startup, because the bigger brands are already there. If you have a brand, if you have a product which has never been done before, and you have first mover advantage, they're happily going for a Google AdWords. But more importantly, more than anything else, always try and have your AdWords, any ads, not just AdWords, any ads, such that you can always do some or the other kind of data collection, so that even if you do not convert a particular sale right now, you can always convert it later. For this, there are two very important things that you can do. One is getting an IVR number. Getting an IVR number is basically just getting a sort of a hotline number. It need not be a hotline number, which is, okay, somebody's calling me, it's free of charge for them, and I end up paying for it. Obviously, for a startup, that is never advisable. But at the same time, if you have a product or a service where you know that it can be converted only if it is spoken to over a call, only if there's some human interaction, and direct clicking on something will not help, there getting an IVR number always is beneficial. An IVR number will cost you something like starting from like 1,500 a month. So do choose your IVR service properly, and even if all the numbers that you click on, so let's say you call a number and it says, okay, you welcome to First Honey Media Private Limited, for digital marketing dial 1, for Google Ads dial 2. Ultimately, even if all the numbers lead up to me and to my phone call, that is still okay. But at least you know there is a physical number involved. You need not even do dial 1, dial 2. You just connect, and when you pick up, you know that okay, this call is coming for a business or for a business purpose. The second tool that you can use is a UTM tracker link. A UTM tracker link is basically used wherever you want to track what the source um, of the click is. So, for example, if somebody there is a threefold step. So, for example, I was working with a client which was into sleeping solutions. When I say sleeping solutions, they try to provide solutions for patients of sleep apnea. Basically, saying whoever has any snoring issue or has any kind of issue in which they can literally die in their sleep. So there, we place these multiple ads on Facebook. These were not your posts which were being promoted. These were proper link ads so that they had a better positioning. This was obviously not a startup, but at the same time, with a UTM tracker link, we were able to track how many people had actually signed up for their test, had actually filled in a form, and therefore we got their data and we could contact them in the future, or had actually made a query for purchasing a product. What that is able to do for you is that you are able to collect your data and see that okay, this sale has already been done, or my social media is working better for making sales. I will do more social media ads vis-a-vis more Google ads. Therefore, I can see where I can utilize my money better. On social media, your Facebook ads start from about 80 rupees or so, which is what I have seen. 80 rupees or so plus GST, so it comes around to about 100 rupees or so. So you can choose on doing something like I said, there was one client spending 30,000 a month on Google AdWords vis-a-vis one client spending 5,000. Similarly, on social media as well, you can choose on spending 100 rupees a day, and at the same time, you can say in this month I will spend only 500 rupees, or I will spend only 100 rupees, and therefore this is the day or this is the campaign which I know will work best, because you have your content plan created beforehand in advance. You will know what is the post that will be working better. In addition to that, your analytics will show you which post is actually performing better, and therefore you can let your post run on its own for some time. This is another hack where what people usually do is people post and they promote it instantly. You can let the post be for some time and see which post is performing better, and then select that the highest performing post will be promoted. That way, you'll be able to multiply your conversions. Whether you want, and obviously because you can direct what you want it for. You want it for likes, you want it for followers, you want it for engagement, etc., etc. Obviously, the content will have to be accordingly put, but that will help you in doing that. Now, when I say about ads on other platforms, let's say I have any other website. So, if today I want to give, it's the same way as any traditional advertising works. So, if I want to give a ad in the Times of India newspaper, instead of giving an ad on the Times of India newspaper, now I want to give it on their site. I don't have that much of a budget to give it on a Times of India kind of a platform. So what I do is that I want to put it on a site which a lot of other people will visit, but it's going to cost me much lesser. So, for example, if this protein powder client of mine, they decide to do an ad somewhere else and they do it on the site of a gym or on the site of a of a nutrition athlete who competes or is a bodybuilder, etc. They have their website or their social media and they put an ad there, which also comes across a little bit as influencer marketing. They're doing that kind of a thing will be very, very helpful. Now, when I mentioned this on other platforms, your ads can be in the form of banners. They can be in the form of an article. They can be in the form of, this is where there is a little overlap between marketing and PR. And this is also where there is an overlap between marketing and influencer marketing. digital marketing and influencer marketing. So in influencer marketing, again, a lot of people will tell you that, okay, you have these influencers which have very, very good reach. And even if we do just one collaboration with one such influencer, it will be very good for us. But instead, let's say, unfortunately, a lot of buyers, a lot of followers are going to be fake. A lot of followers are going to be bought. So instead, if we choose accounts which have lesser number of followers, but many such accounts where we can even do a collaboration on barter or for free or something like that, then it is more cost effective for you. And you know that there are, instead of one conversation happening, there are 10 such multiple conversations happening, and the algorithm is going to push that file. And there will be more flooding of your hashtag which you created, and therefore it will perform better for you as a startup. Now, okay, so now we're going to take that example of the OTT platform. Now in this, we'll go step by step, and I'll also add to this whatever is missing. So for example, we have now OTT platform. Okay. To just give an idea of an OTT platform, I'm going to take the example of Zomato. Why I'm taking Zomato is, I'm sure most of you must be knowing this, but Zomato recently started their video streaming also. Now for Zomato, when we are doing OTT platform like which is video streaming, so for that, obviously, something like an Instagram is the first thing to do. Usually for any startup, the first go-to thing will usually be a Facebook, because there are a lot of things that you can give in it, and it's like a microsite in itself. So even before you create your website, you can just start off with your Facebook page, and that's good enough to get started. But in case of a OTT platform, we will start with Instagram and Facebook simultaneously, because Instagram is where you can see a lot of your video content. Now, when I say video content, obviously, because I want to redirect traffic to my video platform, you will see, for example, Netflix and everything, they run a lot of ads, but they will not show their entire series or the entire video on their social media, but they will show a lot of trailers. They will have a lot of engagement posts happening. So there are different kinds of posts which you should keep. Like I have said, again, when you keep your content plan, make sure there are informative posts, there are engagement posts, there are, I'll elaborate on these, and there are just, some will be just random audience connect posts. Okay, when I say informative posts, so let's say we have this video platform. So informative post in this case will be the short clippings that we have, the trailers that we have, where we say that this is also available on our platform. Then we will have that, okay, our platform has these many videos that you can view. Our platform has these many viewers which are already signed up, etc., etc. These are all informative posts. Engagement posts will be where we add things like, okay, let's say we're running a contest, like for example, which Param had mentioned, we do a event or a virtual contest. So there we say something like, okay, for example, you'll see a lot of these Netflix ads saying where they had connected with the audience for their series such as the Wondrous Life of Mrs. Maisel. They connected with a lot of female comedians, dressed them up exactly in the same way as Mrs. Maisel would dress, and stand up and do their comedy in their own style. But at the same time, because it was a female-centric stand-up comedian, which is very, very uncommon, and she was dressed in the form of in the same way as Mrs. Maisel would dress, it was a different reconnect. And also, there were a lot of people. How many of you can do this? So let's say you have your challenges, you have your contests. All of those are the engagement posts that you have. Parang, you have a question?
No, ma'am. We are,
Okay.
yeah, time.
Yeah, okay, we're just wrapping up, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay. Then on Facebook, what you will also do is you will mention, you will give a lot of details as to and what all your company does, what is your website, how many employees, etc., etc., which is an extension of what you see on LinkedIn. Now, Facebook is something which people usually are using for their personal use. So therefore, over there, the kind of content that you will put is exactly what you want to put out as your brand um, language. But on LinkedIn, what you will put on, you cannot put on the same things that you put on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Facebook and Instagram on LinkedIn. What you can do is that, okay, we did this on Facebook and Instagram. This is what happened, and this is the kind of research that we found. This is the kind of data that came out of it. That is what will go on LinkedIn. Again, on LinkedIn, what will happen is the common things that you can actually do on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are about your company culture. That, okay, we have this company culture, these are our people, highlighting the people, those kind of things will actually work. YouTube, again, YouTube will be limited to just your um, testimonials. Right now I'm sticking to the OTT platform. So YouTube will have your trailers, your testimonials, will have viewer reactions, which is again testimonials in a way, BTS stories, making of it, etc., etc., reviews, critics, etc. All of those will be part of your YouTube. And YouTube are the same things which can be embedded. You can embed those things as well also and increase the use of it, which is also in itself a money making thing. But for a startup, please don't consider your YouTube to be a money making channel at all. YouTube for you is only to connect with your audience and not for actually making more money. Twitter, again, for Twitter, for an OTT platform, having Twitter really makes a lot of sense because you can engage with a lot of other brands. But again, like I said, you must have a dedicated resource. If you are the kind of person, like who I said, can delegate every single thing, do not delegate this if you think you can manage this yourself. If you think you can't, then get that one resource which will be able to do this brilliantly and perfectly. Now, another very important for an OTT platform, a platform like WhatsApp will not really work unless it's something like, let's say, a Book My Show works does a lot of WhatsApp marketing, where they say that, okay, we've got your ticket book, and here you can forward this to whoever you want, etc., etc. But apart from that, another platform which can work for an OTT platform is something like a Pinterest, where you put in listicles. You put in these pictures which have lists saying these are the top 10 viewed series on this channel. We suggest top 10 thriller series or movies on our platform, etc., etc. Those kind of listicles. Then things like quotations which you find from these series, let's say a famous dialogue or something like that. Those kind of things can be used, and Pinterest will work very, very, very well for that. And in each of these places, you will find very different kind of audience. Now, just one more thing which I wanted to add, which I have forgotten to add earlier, is LinkedIn. Please make sure you have your own personal profile. It is up to date, and you open it at least every day for about, if nothing, if for, at least for 10-15 minutes. Scroll, be part of groups, comment, put posts. Even if you don't want to put posts, at least engage with others. That way you see that your personal brand will at least be alive, if not prospering. The second thing is, for your company, please do not create a personal account. So a lot of people do this, that they create an account by the name of the company and then they send out people requests. That looks extremely, extremely shady. That is the least, that is the most polite way I can put it. But the ideal way to go about it is to make a company page and do it properly. And LinkedIn hashtags actually work. Facebook, honestly, hashtags do not work. They stopped using it a very long time back. Algorithms keep changing. Keep a track on those algorithms wherever you can, or just sign up for those updates on an RSS feed or a Twitter or something like that, so that you keep getting those updates. That will work beautifully. For Instagram, obviously, half of the world works on Instagram. Like, for example, there is a new thing which is shop local. So you can link, you can send out people requesting, hi, can you post about me? Just, just say that, okay, this is a new shop I found, or this is a new service I found, this is a new startup I'm looking at. That will get a lot of traction because that is right now getting global coverage. That's pretty much all I had to add in bootstrapping for digital marketing, because everything else becomes really, really expensive. And ideally, I would suggest that you make a content plan for it. So Monday, you know, whenever you can't think of anything additional for a Monday, or there's no topical, so to say, go with the Monday motivation. For a Thursday or a Friday, try do your throwback Thursday or your flashback Friday, where you might not be saying something which is related to the company, but you can always add something from some event in the history, which, what if that happened today, or turn it into something. There are a lot of things which, if you are going to put something party related, don't put it on a Monday, don't put it on a Tuesday, put it on a Wednesday. Midweek is still when people are burning out already. Right now, don't put anything about parties unless it's a Zoom party. Put most such things on weekends. And also, apart from that, you can put things, there are a lot of things which you should, like, if there are weekend centric posts, those will happen. So let's say if you're putting shopping based is something you will keep putting some things over on a regular basis, but your focus will be on your weekends, because obviously people will shop more on the weekends. But given the situation right now, you will have to see that everything is going to be all over the place. And uh, things are going to be very different. So you will have to do all the experimenting possible right now, and make the best of the time that it is right now. If anybody is planning to start up right now thinking, maybe I should not because COVID is going on, this is the best time to actually think and start on yourself, and just be taking advantage of the fact that there is a major setback. So if everybody is starting at a zero, and so are you, so then you're pretty much equal. So you have more chance of going ahead than actually others. So yeah, anybody else has any other questions? If you have any other questions which you've not been able to ask here, you can always connect with me later. You can add me on LinkedIn, or maybe reach out to me via email. I'm sure Param can share my email by the end.
Yes, definitely, ma'am. I'll be sharing your email ID with the participants, and they can contact you for the queries.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the wonderful session today. And
I hope everybody learned something.
yes, ma'am, we got a lot to learn. Understanding digital marketing was very much needed, I should say, due to the lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, ma'am. Is there anybody who wants to ask a few questions? We still have around 5 minutes left. So if there's anybody who's interested in asking a question, you can ask, or we can just complete the session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ishita ma'am, once again, and thank you for everybody to participate in this session. Okay, wait, we have a question. No. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Jaspreet.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, ma'am.
Bye
Prashant,
bye.
a few words.
Thanks, Ishita. Thanks, Param.
Yes.
Thanks, Ishita, for taking your time and probably sharing all your insights here with these all students.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I hope in terms of students, if anybody is looking to probably get into this industry, into digital marketing, you can definitely get more insights and get in touch with Ishita. And probably Ishita, if you want any interns or looking for digital marketing interns, you can
Yeah.
we can reach out to these students who are
Sure.
interested.
Yeah.
Cool. Param, you
Yes,
can
sir.
probably take it
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you very much. For once more, thank you very much, Ishita ma'am, for the session. Thank you, Prashant sir, for helping setting up, and thank you for the rest for participating in today's session. I'm sure we've all had a lot to learn. Thank you.
So
You're
one
welcome.
more thing, we will be having our next session on the next weekend, which is the next Saturday. Uh, the details will be sent to you over an email. We have another EdTech session that is coming on the next weekend. One of the founders, whose first startup was acquired by 1MG, will be there for explaining you how to build a SaaS based business. Anything else, Ishita? Anything else from your side?
I mean, there will be a lot of things which keep coming up, like whenever you're adding things on, whenever you're referring to anybody on any channel, try and tag those people. It takes you a long way. Like I had mentioned, that tag the talent that you have. That really goes a long way. Similarly, whenever you're mentioning anybody, just tag them, whether on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. That option is there, so you can fully utilize that. So do that, and it helps in engaging more conversation. So yeah, do that. That's about it.
I hope Param will take more of insights from you to lead the digital team at Verispire.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
Okay,
I
guys,
will be
thank
to
you.
you for. Uh, yes, ma'am, definitely. I've got a lot to learn today, and I'll keep learning. I hope I can come to you for advice, ma'am.
Absolutely, Param. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And
You're welcome.
once again, thank you everybody for participating in the session. Our next session will be next Saturday at 4 p.m., where we will be discussing on the future of education and technology by Akash Singhal from Illuminous.com. Uh, I hope I hope that you all can visit next week as well. And you will all receive a mail. For the next week's session's topic is future of education and technology by Akash Singhal from Illuminous.com. Thank you once again, Rita ma'am. Thank you, Samaya sir. Thank you, Prashant sir. I am now concluding this session.
Bye, 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 Ishita. Bye,
Okay.
Param.
Bye. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, madam, for a nice lecture.